Welcome back to my channel, Rare Coins Shop. If you're excited about finding hidden gems in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we're going to uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. We're diving into the fascinating history and mystery behind a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, but carries an extraordinary secret, the 1965 United States Washington quarter dollar. At first, this coin looks like any other quarter. It's been in circulation for decades. You've probably held one, spent one, or have one tucked away in a jar somewhere. But there's a reason collectors all over the world are hunting for a specific version of the 1965 Washington quarter, because some of these coins are worth far more than 25 cents. In fact, one of them could make you a small fortune. Let's rewind to the year 1965. The United States was going through some major changes, socially, politically, and yes, even economically. In the coin world, something monumental happened that year. The government made a huge shift in how coins were made. Prior to 1965, quarters were minted from 90% silver. But due to the rising cost of silver, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision to stop producing silver quarters. Beginning in 1965, quarters were made with a copper-nickel clad composition, basically copper sandwiched between layers of nickel. This change was huge. Overnight, silver quarters became a thing of the past. But here's where it gets interesting. The U.S. Mint had already prepared some silver coin blanks before the metal transition, and it's believed that a small number of these silver blanks were accidentally used to strike quarters dated 1965. That means that while millions of 1965 quarters are made of the new copper-nickel material, a tiny handful of them were mistakenly struck in silver, and those are the coins that collectors are desperately searching for today. So how can you tell if you have one of these rare silver 1965 quarters? It's all in the edge. If you look at the edge of a normal clad quarter, you'll see a distinct copper stripe running along the side. But if you have a quarter from 1965 that has no copper stripe and a solid silver-colored edge, you might just be holding something very special. And that's not all. Weight is another clue. A clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while the old silver ones weigh about 6.25 grams. A small difference, but in the world of numismatics, it's everything, and that's just the beginning. There are also error coins from 1965 that command attention: double strikes, off-center prints, and transitional errors. Transitional errors happen when coins are struck with the wrong metal composition for their date, like a silver planchet being used in a year when silver was no longer intended. These errors can transform an ordinary coin into a rare and coveted treasure. Now imagine this: a coin that you could easily pass by in spare change, lying unnoticed in a coin jar or forgotten in an old collection, could be one of the rarest errors in American coinage history. Over the years, collectors have scoured coin rolls, estate sales, and even garage sales in the hopes of finding one of these elusive pieces. And the value? Let's just say it's not pocket change. A verified 1965 Washington quarter that was struck on a silver planchet and confirmed by a reputable grading service has made headlines among collectors. These rare coins don't just go for a few dollars or even a few hundred. The right coin, in the right condition, with the right error, has been known to sell at auction for as much as $200,000. Yes, you heard that right. $200,000 for a single quarter. So take a moment. Check your change. Look through that old coin collection from your grandparents. You might just have something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. And if you do, it could change your life. Second rare coin, we're diving into the world of the 1988 Washington quarter dollar. Now, at first glance, the 1988 quarter might not seem all that special. After all, it was produced during a time when the U.S. Mint was cranking out coins by the billions. These coins were made for everyday use, bought cups of coffee, paid parking meters, and sat unnoticed in car consoles and kitchen drawers. But as any experienced collector knows, it's not always about the quantity. It's about the quality. It's about the errors. And sometimes, it's about being in the right place at the right time when history was accidentally made. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932. By 1988, the design was very familiar, the profile of George Washington on the front, with the majestic eagle perched on a bundle of arrows on the back. And the D mint mark? That simply means it was struck at the Denver Mint, but not all quarters are created equal. The Denver Mint, like all major mints, handles an enormous volume of coin production. And when things move fast, mistakes can happen. These mistakes, or minting errors, are the key to unlocking a coin's true value. From off-center strikes to double dies, to the rarest of all, transitional or wrong planchet errors, these little imperfections are what drive collectors wild. Now, the 1988 D quarter has become a point of interest in the numismatic community for a few very good reasons. First, there are a few known varieties and errors that make this coin stand out from the rest. For example, some 1988 D quarters have been found with significant die cracks. These look like raised lines running across the coin, often in odd places. Others have been discovered with off-center strikes, where the design isn't perfectly aligned. And then there are quarters that were struck on the wrong planchet entirely, coins that were accidentally minted on a piece of metal meant for a different denomination. Imagine finding a quarter that was struck on a nickel planchet, or even rarer, on a foreign coin blank that somehow found its way into the minting machinery. These errors are incredibly rare, and when authenticated, they can increase the value of a coin exponentially. Let's not forget condition. Coin collectors are obsessed with grading. A quarter in poor condition might still be worth only 25 cents. But a 1988 D quarter in mint state condition, especially one that grades MS 65 or higher, can already command a premium price. Add a rare error or an unusual strike to that coin, and suddenly you're not just looking at a collectible, you're looking at a serious investment. And here's what really gets collectors' hearts racing: most of these rare coins are discovered in the most unexpected places. Someone might be sorting through an old jar of coins, rolling quarters for the bank, or even getting change back from a vending machine, and, boom, there it is. A rare error coin hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. So, how do you know if your 1988 D quarter is worth more than face value? Start by checking for any visual abnormalities, misaligned prints, doubled letters, missing elements, or strange textures. Look closely at the mint mark, the rims, and even the weight of the coin. If anything seems off, it's worth investigating further. And if you think you found something unusual, the next step is to have it authenticated by a reputable grading service. That professional opinion could be the difference between a neat find and a life-changing discovery, because yes, it does happen. While most 1988 D quarters are common and still worth just 25 cents, the rarest versions, those with major mint errors or struck on the wrong planchet in pristine condition, have been known to reach astonishing prices at auction. And in one particularly exciting case, a 1988 D Washington quarter with the right combination of rarity, condition, and error was valued at a breathtaking $100,000. That's right. One single quarter. $100,000. So the next time you're sifting through change, pay attention. That small, familiar coin in your hand might be a hidden treasure. And if you're lucky enough to find one of these rare quarters, you could be holding a piece of American history, and a fortune. Third coin is the story of the 1967 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that just might be far more valuable than anyone ever expected. To the untrained eye, the 1967 quarter doesn't look out of the ordinary. It's got the classic image of George Washington on the front, standing tall and timeless, a symbol of leadership and strength. On the reverse, the familiar eagle with outstretched wings, perched confidently above a bundle of arrows, with olive branches below, a powerful representation of peace through strength. But this quarter was born in an unusual and transformative moment in American history, especially when it comes to coin production. Just 2 years earlier, in 1965, the United States Mint stopped using silver in dimes and quarters. Rising silver prices had made it too expensive to continue minting coins from the precious metal. As a result, the mint switched to a copper-nickel clad composition, a copper core with layers of nickel on the outside. And from 1965 to 1967, something else happened. no coins from those years carried any mint marks. That's right. Whether it was made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, a 1967 quarter has no mint mark to identify where it came from. That decision was made to discourage coin hoarding during the transition from silver to base metals. But what collectors have discovered in the years since is that this period also produced some very unusual, and very valuable, coins. The 1967 quarter is one of them. Most of these coins were churned out by the millions. They were made for circulation, fast, functional, and forgettable. But here's where it gets interesting. Even with such a high mintage, a few coins from that year have surfaced with incredible minting errors and anomalies. We're talking about quarters that were struck off-center, double-struck, or even struck on the wrong planchets, meaning they were accidentally minted on coin blanks meant for another denomination or even another country, and that's the kind of mistake that turns an everyday coin into a collector's dream. Imagine finding a 1967 quarter that was mistakenly struck on a dime planchet. That would mean a smaller coin, with part of the design cut off, possibly lighter in weight and thinner than a normal quarter. Or even more stunning, finding one struck on a silver planchet that somehow slipped through the system 2 years after silver was supposedly removed from quarters altogether. These kinds of errors are incredibly rare, but they do exist. And they're not just interesting, they're extremely valuable. Condition, of course, plays a massive role too. Most quarters from 1967 are heavily circulated and show clear signs of wear. But every now and then, someone uncovers a near-perfect specimen, an uncirculated quarter with crisp details, no scratches, and a brilliant luster. Combine that with a rare error or unusual planchet, and you've got something truly special on your hands. So what should you look for? Start by checking the edges. A normal clad quarter will show a copper stripe on the edge. If your 1967 quarter is missing that stripe and looks silver all the way through, it's time to weigh it. If the weight is off, especially if it leans closer to the weight of a silver coin, get it authenticated. Also inspect the strike and alignment. Is the design centered properly? Are any letters or numbers doubled? Are parts of the design missing or warped? These are the signs collectors pay serious attention to. Now here's where things really heat up. Quarters from this year with confirmed minting errors or unique characteristics have gone on to be sold at premium prices. And we're not talking about a few bucks or a couple hundred. In one particularly remarkable case, a rare 1967 Washington quarter with the right combination of error, rarity, and condition was valued at an incredible $150,000. Yes, you heard that right. One coin. $150,000. It's stories like this that remind us why we search. Why we hold on to that spare change. Why we keep looking through old jars of coins or inherited collections tucked away in attics. Because somewhere out there, a seemingly ordinary coin is waiting to reveal its extraordinary secret. And maybe, just maybe, it's already in your hands. Especially, we're diving into the story of a coin you might have seen in your change but probably never thought twice about, the 1981 D Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin looks like any other quarter, small, silver-toned, and carrying the familiar profile of George Washington. But what if I told you that this seemingly ordinary coin could be hiding a secret that might make it incredibly valuable? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see why collectors are paying serious attention to the 1981 D quarter, and just how much one of these coins could be worth. The Washington Quarter series has been around since 1932, honoring the first president of the United States with that classic left-facing profile. The Denver Mint, marked by the D mint mark, produced millions of quarters each year, including the 1981 D. This was a time when quarters were mostly used for everyday transactions, so it might surprise you that certain 1981 D quarters can actually be worth far more than their face value. What makes this coin stand out isn't just the year or the mint mark, but a handful of unusual and rare characteristics that popped up during production. Errors, varieties, and special conditions often turn ordinary coins into collector's gold. And that's exactly what happened with the 1981 D Washington quarter. First, let's talk about the condition. The majority of quarters from 1981 were circulated heavily, showing signs of wear, scratches, and even tarnish from years of use. But a quarter that has been preserved in mint or near mint condition, shiny, with crisp details and no damage, instantly becomes more appealing to collectors. The better the condition, the higher the potential value, but condition isn't the only factor. Some 1981 D quarters were struck with errors, and these errors can make a huge difference in the coin's worth. One of the most sought-after errors from this year is the famous double die variety, where the coin's design shows signs of doubling, letters or numbers that look like they've been stamped twice, often with a slight offset. This doubling can be seen on the date, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust." Such errors are rare and greatly increase a coin's collectability. Another interesting error is the off-center strike. This is when the coin is not perfectly aligned during minting, resulting in a portion of the design being cut off. These off-center coins vary in rarity depending on how much of the design is missing, and some have fetched significant sums at auction. Then there's the famous clad layer error, where the outer nickel layer of the coin peels away or is missing in places, revealing the copper core underneath. These striking anomalies make the 1981 D quarters fascinating to collectors and often command premium prices. Now, you might be wondering, what does this all mean in terms of money? While most 1981 D quarters are worth just their face value or a few dollars if they're in excellent condition, the rare error coins can be something else entirely. There have been instances where these rare error 1981 D quarters, especially those with clear doubling, off-center strikes, or clad errors, have been appraised and sold for serious money. In fact, a top-grade 1981 D quarter with the right kind of mint error has been known to bring in prices as high as $90,000. That's right, $90,000 for a single quarter. So, next time you come across an old 1981 D quarter, don't just toss it aside. Give it a closer look, inspect the date and lettering for any signs of doubling, check the edges for any missing layers, and notice if the design looks perfectly centered. You might just be holding a piece of history that could be worth a small fortune. Next coin, we're diving deep into the 1990 P Washington quarter dollar. Yes, the very quarter minted in Philadelphia that most people probably don't give a second thought to. But what if I told you that this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth far more than its 25-cent face value? Stick around, because this story is full of surprises, and by the end, you'll discover why some 1990 P quarters have collectors scrambling to get their hands on them. The Washington quarter has been a symbol of American coinage since 1932, honoring our first president with that iconic profile. The 1990 P quarter, minted in Philadelphia, was produced in the midst of a bustling era for coin production. Millions and millions of quarters rolled off the presses that year, destined for everyday transactions all across the country. At first glance, the 1990 P quarter looks just like any other quarter from the era, bright, familiar, and widely used, but there's more to the story than meets the eye. Even in years where coins were produced in enormous quantities, the mint occasionally made mistakes, resulting in rare and valuable error coins. These errors can be anything from double dies to off-center strikes or planchet flaws, and they have a way of turning ordinary coins into prized collectibles. And yes, the 1990 P Washington quarter is no exception. One of the most intriguing things about the 1990 P quarter is the existence of rare mint errors that have made certain examples incredibly valuable to collectors. For instance, there are 1990 P quarters known to have been struck with a double die on the obverse side, meaning the image of George Washington and the lettering appear to have been stamped twice, giving a shadowy or doubled effect. These errors might be subtle but can be clearly seen with a magnifying glass or under close inspection. Another remarkable variety involves off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly aligned during minting, causing part of the design to be missing. These kinds of errors vary in rarity depending on how much of the design was struck off-center and can make the coin a unique piece in any collection. And then there are the more obscure errors, coins that were struck on incorrect planchets or with missing layers in the metal, revealing the underlying core. These kinds of striking mistakes are rare, highly sought after, and add tremendous value to an otherwise common coin. It's also important to mention that condition plays a huge role in a coin's value. Most quarters from 1990 have been heavily circulated and show signs of wear. But finding a 1990 P quarter in uncirculated or mint condition, where every detail is sharp and the surfaces are free of scratches or blemishes, already puts you ahead in the world of coin collecting. Put together a rare mint error on a 1990p quarter with top-tier condition, and you're holding something that can be worth a small fortune. So what kind of value are we talking about? Well, while the majority of 1990p quarters are worth just their face value or a little more if well preserved, the rare error coins can fetch much higher prices at auctions or from collectors. In fact, some of these rare 1990p Washington quarters with significant mint errors, especially those that have been professionally graded and authenticated, have been known to command prices as high as $50,000. That's $50,000 for a single quarter. Imagine that. The kind of change most people overlook could potentially be a treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. So next time you find yourself holding a 1990p quarter, don't just assume it's ordinary. Take a closer look, inspect the date, the details on Washington's profile, and the lettering. Look for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or anything unusual on the edges. If something looks off, it might just be worth getting a professional opinion, because you never know, your ordinary coin might actually be a rare gem. Last unique coin, we're zooming in on a coin that probably slipped past your attention many times, the 1996p Washington quarter dollar. Yes, the quarter minted in Philadelphia that most of us have probably used countless times without giving it a second thought. But if you're patient and curious, you might just discover that this coin has a fascinating tale, and a potential value that could seriously surprise you. The Washington quarter has been a mainstay in American coinage since 1932, proudly featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse side. By 1996, the quarter was firmly established as the go-to 25-cent piece, striking billions of coins to meet the country's everyday needs. The P mint mark on the 1996 quarter tells us it was minted in Philadelphia, one of the oldest and most prolific mints in the United States. At first glance, the 1996p quarter looks exactly like what you'd expect, the familiar, dignified portrait of Washington on the front, with the eagle spreading its wings on the back, clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of peace and strength. But behind that simple design lies a world that coin enthusiasts find endlessly captivating. What really makes certain 1996p quarters special are the rare errors and varieties that occurred during their production. While most quarters were struck perfectly and quickly sent into circulation, some experienced minting quirks that today turn them into prized collectibles. Whether it's a slight doubling of the lettering or design, a misaligned strike, or an unusual metal composition, these quirks can transform an everyday coin into something extraordinary. One of the key reasons collectors seek out the 1996p Washington quarter is because of these subtle but rare varieties. For example, there are known instances of double die errors where parts of the design, such as the date or the inscriptions, appear to have a shadow or duplicate image. This happens when the coin is struck more than once or the die itself is flawed, creating a doubling effect that's visible to the naked eye or under magnification. Another fascinating aspect to watch out for is the possibility of off-center strikes. While minor misalignments might go unnoticed, a quarter struck noticeably off-center could be extremely rare. These off-center strikes can vary in how much of the design is missing or cut off, and coins with significant off-center errors are highly coveted by collectors. There are also errors related to the coin's metal composition, like partial cladding errors where the nickel layer is missing or peeling away, exposing the copper core underneath. These unusual features make each coin unique and add significantly to its collectible appeal. Condition, as always, plays a crucial role. A 1996p quarter that's been heavily circulated will generally have limited value beyond its face value. But a coin that remains in uncirculated or mint state condition, bright, shiny, with sharp details and no scratches, can already command a premium among collectors, especially if it also has one of the rare errors we talked about. So how much can these rare 1996p Washington quarters be worth? While the majority remain common and relatively low in value, those with verified errors and excellent condition have made waves in the collecting community. Some of the rarest, most well-preserved error coins from 1996 have been known to fetch prices as high as $35,000. That's right, $35,000 for a single quarter. This shows just how important it is to keep an eye on the coins you come across. That unassuming 1996p P quarter could be hiding a treasure if it has one of these minting quirks and is in outstanding condition. Thanks so much for joining me on this fascinating journey into the world of the 1996 P Washington quarter. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date with more amazing coin discoveries and insights, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Until next time, happy hunting and keep your eyes peeled. Your next great find might be closer than you think.